So you know how teleporters are just really fancy killing machines. All these science fiction shows would have you believe that it's no big deal. Just step on a pad or walk through a twirly gateway and off you go. Watching the sunrise on Venus, a little swim with alien dolphins on Europa, lunch at the far side of Saturn, and you're back in time for the Musk Memorial Day parade. Or are you? Simply put, because you got disassembled down to the atoms, the fact that another being is created out of new atoms in the same configuration has no impact on the eternal darkness that is now your home. Except, this is kind of what your body does right now, anyway. According to Google, your body replaces itself with an entirely new set of cells every 7 to 10 years. And even though 10 years ago you might have been a believer, no matter how hard you try to forget that was still you. I mean, right? Well, that's a tricky question, so instead of answering it, story time! The most used argument for why teleporters are no big deal is the ship of Theseus. Theseus was a boomer who spent all his life savings on a boat and decided to sail around the world to distract himself from the imminent approach of death. Every time a part of his ship broke, he would replace it, until eventually there wasn't a single original part left. Was the ship of Theseus at the end of the journey the same ship of Theseus as at the beginning? Intuitively, most people agree that it was. But compare that to Theseus' wife simply burning the ship on the spot, forcing him to order a new one on Amazon. And now we get a perfect teleporter analogy. The outcome is the same, it's only our perception of the methods used that is the problem. If your body replaces itself with all new parts every 7 years, why not just burn it down in the teleporter and get a shiny new body on the other end? A pretty good argument. If you're a ship, not a living, breathing, conscious being. Because while the ship might not have any objections to ceasing to exist there for a couple of days, or hours if you have Prime, I'm sure you would like to know what happens to you once your body gets disassembled. Where do you go once you get turned into ones and zeros? I assume we could point to where in the data stream your arm is represented, and here is your leg, and oh look, a malignant tumor. But where are you? Is this you? All I see is atoms, making up some neurons and chemicals. Is this you? Just more atoms. Is this you? Depends on how many hours a day you spend on Twitter. So, if your brain isn't you, and your heart isn't you, and you're not a dick, then what is you? Where is that tingling you felt while talking to that cute girl or that hot guy at the gym the other day? Or back in January? Where is that gnawing at the back of your neck every time you remember the weeping angels? Where is that pressure in your chest you feel every time you watch an Exerbia video? Where is the internal voice that told you to click on this video and still hasn't told you to click away? Namaste. Because I see no little pink alien pulling the levers, no hamsters spinning wheels. So where does you come from? Well, you see, most likely you doesn't exist. As far as we can tell, there is no reason to believe you're anything more than a collection of atoms that believes it's something more. You is just an illusion, a trick your brain plays on you because it's an evil little shit. You don't exist any more than the pictures on your screen. Just like this video is just a bunch of pixels changing color based on the movement of some electrons, you are just a bunch of neurons firing. Consider this. I'm sure you're familiar with Phineas Gage, but for purposes of watch time, Phineas Gage was an American railroad construction worker in the 1800s who thought that getting a brain piercing would make him look less like the other boys. Unfortunately, the damage to his brain was so severe that it meant an end to his Twitch career. But more importantly, the changes to his personality were so great that those who knew him started calling him no longer Gage. So, you is tied to your brain, just like a picture is bound to a screen, and if some pixels get damaged, the picture gets distorted. So where do you go when you get turned into ones and zeros? Well, where does the video go when you share it with your friend? You wouldn't not share it just because it will be different pixels on the screen. You would not share it because it's not any good. It doesn't matter what atoms your brain is made from. It doesn't matter that it stopped existing there for a moment. You break your screen and the illusion is gone. You buy a new one and the picture is right there. Getting teleported is no different than falling asleep at night. The illusion is broken. You stops existing. But it doesn't matter because there you are again browsing Twitter in bed. You is just a lie that begins every morning when you open your eyes and dies every night you fall asleep. So why not get broken down to atoms? You're going to die and there's nothing but darkness waiting. And not even that matters because you never existed in the first place.
Hey everybody! That nobody over there made a gay joke on Twitter! Get him!
Of course, humans wouldn't be humans if we hadn't just ignored all the evidence and invented our own explanation based on what feels right. The idea of the immortal soul stems all the way back from the first time a mom told her son to pause a multiplayer game, at which point he realized that life goes on after you die in Fortnite, because after all, it's just a game. Now, maybe you think that because it's written in an old book, or this can be our special little secret, aren't particularly compelling arguments. But it's not like monkeys learn how to manipulate electrons just so they can watch a random guy sit on the floor and spit on himself. So maybe there's something more to us. The only problem is that if we really are ghosts driving carbon prisons just waiting for the sweet release of death, proving that is conveniently impossible. Or maybe not. So far, we have only considered the results of teleportation, assuming you are but a soulless carbon construct. What would happen if you got teleported and you really were more than just an NPC? Well, you'd die. For real this time. A teleporter can replicate your body perfectly, but how do you copy something you can't observe, measure, or interact with in any way? If there is a part of you that is separate from your body and not of this world, a simple teleporter that scans, disassembles, and assembles atoms wouldn't be able to do anything with it. So when your original body gets disassembled, you die. And now your soul is free to continue its journey, whatever that may be. And on the other end is a new body, an empty shell without its ghost. Probably comatose and motionless, and sadly infinitely less funny than if it started throwing feces at everyone. So if we ever invent a teleporter, and find a schmuck stupid enough to walk into it, if he comes out fine, we will know that we really are just monkeys who became so smart to convince themselves they are more. There is no grand design, there is no after, there is only this, and now, and what we make of it. There was only ever chance, and luck, and time, and infinitely improbable odds, and yet here we are, 13.8 billion-year-old hydrogen, discussing the metaphysical implications of fictional technologies over hundreds of thousands of kilometers. But if what comes out is a monkey, then only one question remains. What the fuck did the dinosaurs do to make someone that mad? Okay, so what was the point of this fever dream of a video? Well, there is more tension in the world today than ever. And with the emergence of new technologies and new insights, it will no longer be possible to simply agree to disagree. And if we want to continue developing from this point on and grow to become the best version of ourselves, not as Americans, Europeans, or Asians, not as Christian, Jewish, Muslim, or whatever, but as humans, we need to look deeper and try harder to find the actual true meaning of existence, the true origin of the universe. And then maybe we even discover the nature of consciousness itself. And I know this is an insignificant contribution to something so impossibly large, but maybe it inspires someone, just one person, to go and crack this next impossible thing. And that's all I want, because, quite frankly, this just isn't enough legroom. Now, some of you may say that it's a bit presumptuous to assume if soul, then God, but you clearly haven't been paying attention.